Welcome back to
Girls Guide to Germany. I'm Hannah,
And I'm Christy.
and we're excited to be back here on my floor in front of this couch. But we're just keeping it chill because we said we're going to start a podcast. We're going to make it simple and easy
And fun.
and that means sitting on the floor. Today's episode is about the do's and don'ts for your first year in Germany. We have been there. My first year in Germany was in 2014. Christy's was in
2022.
just on the end of the pandemic where we met. And we have learned a lot of what the do's and don'ts are. And we are here to share what we wish we knew when we first came here. This was 10 years ago. This was almost another era, 2014. But things have really, really changed here for the better. But there's still some really basic things that I could have improved on my first year.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that the girls in our community have brought up and that we see all the time with girls that come in. So hopefully if you're considering moving to Germany, you can avoid some of these don'ts and you can make sure to have the do's on your to-do list before you get over here.
Yes, and that's one reason I started the BBA community, which is the inspiration and what's behind this podcast is BBA community is Germany's biggest community for ambitious international women. And we see a lot of struggles in our WhatsApp groups, in our Instagram DMs of people, a lot of different questions, a lot of things that they're struggling with. And we're going to go over those and how we overcome them.
Hannah, what is the main thing that brings girls into our community and into Germany?
Well, the main thing that I can definitely say is the schnitzel.
Don't you mean the
German,
the Weisswurst?
The Weisswurst, yeah, the Weisswurst.
Men.
Just kidding. Men or
German men.
or German partners. Maybe we have lots of women that do not date men, but German partners seem to be very exotic and fascinating, that people will actually move their ass all the way across the world to Germany out of all places to be with them. And we've been there because
For love.
we both moved for our German partners, and now your husband. I am no longer with this person, but I got to come to Germany and make an amazing life here. But there was many things along the way that I wish I did. But shout out to the girls that come for work or just for fun. That's also a big reason to come to Germany. But the ones where we see the struggle the most are the ones who come for love.
Yeah, and that's mainly because a lot of these girls, maybe they've been here for 3 or 4 years. A lot of them were basically just joining the community of their partner or just relying way too much and becoming way too dependent on their partner. Being an international person, it's kind of hard to deal with being in a new environment, a new setting, a new language. Oftentimes that comes with a lot of insecurities, shyness that you maybe didn't even have before, all of a sudden comes out. You can all relate to that to some extent, but we definitely recommend, obviously, getting out there and joining a community and finding other like-minded people instead of just relying a little bit too much on your partner.
Yeah, and let's put that in perspective. I think Christy's a great example for someone who went and got out there and found her community right away, because I think you made friends within the first year, right?
Yeah, within the first week. I mean, I came to a BBA event, I think it was probably the second week that I was here. So definitely, I know a lot of other girls as well who have joined the community even before they get here. So as soon as they get here, they join an event, make some friends, and it's just really, really amazing, because when you have that energy and that impulse of like coming to a new country, it's exactly the right moment to start making those friendships and building up that community.
Definitely. But let's think 2014 when I first came here. I came to Germany when, Instagram was big, but it wasn't super, super big. We still used Facebook. There was like Facebook groups and stuff like that. And it took me a really long time to find my own friends. I first depended on my partner's friends and his community, which was very awkward at times because they'd always bring me along and then they'd be like, oh, Hannah's here. We have to switch to English. And, they would end up speaking German anyways. I'm just sitting there, and I'm sure many girls can relate to this. You're just sitting there counting the tiles on the wall because you're so bored because you don't understand what's going on, and you don't want to be that person who's like, can you please switch to English, because you don't want, I wouldn't feel comfortable switching to German with Christy environment because that would just be weird, but you get it. And then I was only friends with his friends and the girlfriends of those friends, and that felt really
Isolating?
This is the word. And see, in Germany, you start to forget English. This felt really isolating because I didn't have my own friends. And, I'd always have to join along with the friend group. I did become friends with some of the girlfriends and form relationships that way, but still didn't always work out. And it took me a really long time to find my friends. And guess where I found my first group of friends? Was a Facebook group with some girls wanting to meet up in Hamburg. Guess how long this was after I moved to Germany? This was like 2.5 years. I was really, really, really dependent on someone else. And if I had just, maybe done that a little bit earlier, maybe I would have found those girls who are still actually my friends today. It's my longest friend group here. Would be friends with them a bit earlier.
Going back to the language thing a little bit, it's obviously great. And it's a great way to immerse yourself in the language, to surround yourself by Germans or locals, whatever country you are moving to, and, practicing in that way the language. But there's also a really nice camaraderie that comes with finding other internationals in the place that you move to, because you can just relate to a lot of the struggles and a lot of the just experiences. And that is just really, really nice. It feels like home to be able to really talk about those things with somebody who gets it.
Definitely. And that's why when I found those girlfriends, we all had one thing that we all had in common, was that we're all from North America and we all moved to Germany for German men. So we had a lot to complain about and it felt great. The girls that were from my ex-boyfriend's friends, they didn't understand that struggle. And it was really easy to connect on that level. And that's another reason why we have BBA today, because we all kind of have one underlying thing, and that's we're all living abroad. Mostly, we do have Germans in our group as well, but a lot of them also have already lived abroad.
Yeah. And so, in terms of the language barrier, that can also be a struggle even without the whole partner topic. So, moving away from that, when the girls come here for work, a lot of the times the conversation about language is a very big one, right? So, Hannah, is it possible? This is one of the main questions that we get asked in our group. Is it possible to find a job here, even if your language level is beginner level, A1, A2, maybe B1?
Of course. And I think this is the biggest first struggle, is finding a job in Germany. And I always say, like, things come in step when you move here. First, you probably want to get a job because the girlies need money. We need the monies. Two, you want to find friends. And the three, you want to like get comfortable and everything like that. But it all doesn't happen at once. And yes, you can find a job in English here. And having mother tongue English is actually even more of a benefit, because so many companies just want someone who is born with English language, even if they suck at it. Like me now. But they think, oh, they're a native English speaker, they can help us write copy. Like, we're just born to do that, even though not everyone is. But if you can sell yourself that way as an expert in English language, there's even more doors that are going to open for you.
Yeah, it can be really seen as an asset, especially now. Maybe 10 years ago, it was a little harder to find jobs in English, but now there's even all of these websites that have listings specifically for in Germany jobs that are seeking English speakers. German is sometimes still required, but maybe it's more of a
Nice
base level, a nice to have.
Yeah. And Germany just put out a green card like thing for people who want to move to Germany, and you only have to have like a very basic knowledge of German. But just beware in these companies, and going to my first mistakes, do's and don'ts living in Germany. There's so many startups in Germany, and startups are great to start. That's it. It's a startup. It's to start. You'll probably get a really cool job like marketing manager, even though you don't have marketing manager experience, because they just need people who will accept a cheap salary. And this is actually a great place to start. You could probably get a visa for that. Just FYI, in Germany, you need, don't quote me, but I think at least a 44,000 euro salary to get a residence permit. And there are startups that will still pay less than that. So just FYI, I had this mistake. I took a salary, I think my salary was 1,600 euros before tax per month. And I tried to get a visa with that. Did not work. They were like, access denied. And I had to negotiate my way to get a higher salary just to secure the visa. But yeah, many startups will hire you because you have some experience and you'll take a 30K salary. But the 30K salary isn't going to secure your visa if you're not an European. So first mistake, take the startup job, but make sure they pay at least over 44K. I don't know the exact amount, but it's around that range. Yeah, and don't be like me and stay at that startup job for 3 years and sell your soul. But I was able to get a pretty good job after that and an okay salary. But this was definitely my first mistake, was taking a very low startup salary just because I needed a job that didn't even get me a visa, which caused me a lot of bureaucracy, which leads me into our third tip, which is do not underestimate the bureaucracy in Germany. You want to highlight on this one?
So when I first came here, it was kind of short notice. Like my husband moved from the same company that he was working in the US to the same company here in Germany. And so they were like, you're German. We don't need to give you a relocation package. I, as his partner, who am not a German citizen or have not ever lived here, I had to deal with a lot of bureaucracy. So we had to fight to get them to provide some help so that I could hire somebody to help me, or I could get through all the paperwork and all of that. And it was very short notice. So I just had 3 months to learn basic German in order to get my visa and in order to be here. So hopefully, if you have a little bit more of a headway and you know in advance that you want to move to Germany, you might want to look into your visa requirements. My visa required me to have A1 level, which is just the basics, but still, it's a tough test to pass, especially if you only have 3 months to learn the language at that level. So I highly recommend
Duolingo every day.
Beyond Duolingo every day, like take a few practice tests online and, start to familiarize yourself with the language before you get here. That was my mistake, to just basically arrive and have just, a few words under my belt, but like not any real German language knowledge. Even though it's not really required for your everyday life, it's definitely good to at least look at the visa requirements, and you might have to pass an A1 level test or a B1 level test. So you should definitely look into that first.
I agree. And here's little side story. I was kicked out of Germany actually in 2015 because of the bureaucracy hell that they laid upon me. So let's make a little short story. I think that's going to be a whole podcast itself, how I got kicked out of Germany. But step one was that I accepted a job at a startup company with a really low salary. I tried to get a visa for that. They said, no, you're not allowed. Step two, I went to my company and I said, hey, can you please raise my salary? I can't work here any longer because I only had a 1-year temporary visa. And they were like, well, sorry, we can't do that, but we'll just keep calling the Ausländerbehörde and try to convince them. Do you think they could convince them? No, Ausländerbehörde was just like, no. So I got a mail being like, you have 3 weeks to sort this self out, get a higher salary, or you gotta go.
3 weeks?
Yeah, that's it. 3 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
You have 3 weeks, so you gotta go. And I got this very intimidating little yellow piece of paper in my mail, and I think I looked at it and I was just like, this isn't good. It said, please pass this to the police when you get your passport stamped. So little Hannah did not make the 3 weeks, and she left Germany, got her little paper stamp, gave it to the police officer at the Hamburg airport, but I had a plan. I went to Canada and I applied for a different visa to extend my work and travel visa for another year. Originally, I wanted to switch to a sponsored visa from my work, but they didn't work. So I went back to Canada, had to fly to Toronto for the night, apply for my second work and travel visa, then go back home for 1 month to wait for that to be approved. And all this whole time, my startup job was waiting for me to come back. Luckily, they kept my job, but 1 month later, I got my stamp and came back to Germany. So that was 2015.
Yeah, that's crazy. And were you figuring all this out on your own, or did you have help from your partner at the time, or?
I had to figure out a lot on my own because my partner did come to the meetings at Ausländerbehörde with me. He helped me Google stuff. He did help a lot, but I was literally I had to figure out the other visa options, had to figure out what was available for Canadian Germany. And this was the biggest headache I have ever experienced, and a very expensive headache too with the flights and stuff like that.
Wow.
So don't underestimate the Ausländerbehörde. You can get kicked out of this country and they will do it.
Yeah. And thankfully for me, my husband also has helped me through a lot of these bureaucratic things, but a lot of them he doesn't know about either. So I also have had to figure them out on my own, and on my own, meaning thankfully I had the BBA community. So I was able to just pop into the WhatsApp and ask the girls hey, has anybody experienced this? Thankfully, some of them had, and they were able to help me, walk through the process a little bit. So
yeah. I didn't have the BBA community back then. I had, Facebook and some, but really the expat community was not as big as it is now. So really there were so many people who hadn't gone through that, and I went through that alone. And yeah, the bureaucracy. But, after that, 2015, it was, I would say, not smooth sailing, But pretty smooth sailing after that because I got a job which paid me over 40,000 euros from a different company. And then after that, they didn't even look twice in me. So it was fine.
Yeah. Another thing to look into when you're first moving to Germany is insurance. So health insurance, all those things. I don't know if you had any problems with that, if it was
I had
easier.
health insurance because I went to university in Cologne. So I've been with Barmergate for many, many years. I'm super, super happy with that. But I know you had some issues with insurance.
Yeah. So at first I came with my husband, my partner. That was sort of the basis of the visa. So there was also an insurance that you can apply for with that, like a family insurance. But I am an entrepreneur. And so the fact that I was earning a certain amount of money made me then ineligible for that visa. So I had to choose basically between finding a private insurance to apply for, or what I ended up doing was applying for this KSK.
Künstler Social Kasse, which is the artist social bank or something like that.
So thankfully, through the KSK, I was able to get into the public insurance, and I didn't have to be on the private insurance, which is more expensive. And it made sense for me as an artist to apply for this program. It doesn't make sense for everybody, but these are the kind of things that I would have had no idea that that even existed if it wasn't for Hannah and the BBA community and just asking around, talking about my struggles, and finding that community help.
Definitely. And I just think to point out, there is a process when you come to Germany, and every step of the process is really, very important. So when you first arrive to Germany, if you have the proper residence permit, the proper visa to be here, you can go to the Kundenzentrum, the customer service center, and register yourself as you are living in Germany. You have to give your lease agreement for your flat. You have to give a confirmation from your landlord that you're living there, and they'll register you at that certain address. Once you have this paper, this is the paper of gold because you can get health insurance with this paper. You can get a bank account. You can get other things. When you get a job, they're going to ask for your Anmeldung, your registration. So I know in Canada, you do not have to do that. In the US, do you have to register your address?
I don't know.
No, I don't think so. In Canada, you don't have to say you've moved to a city and be like, this is where I live and this is my papers and everything like that. I think you just have your driver's license and everything on there.
Yeah, so you have to have your driver's license though.
Yeah, but you would change your address on your driver's license. That's about it.
True,
But they
yeah.
don't ask for the landlord confirmation and things like this.
No, not the landlord confirmation.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I know Christy already touched base on learning the basics of German, which is definitely essential. But my biggest do is don't just learn the basics, learn German. Do not put it off like I did. And 10 years later, I can speak German now. It doesn't sound that great, but I can get around. I can understand things. I can talk to people. But for 10 years of being in this country, I feel like my German should be like expert level. I feel like I should be able to work in a German company and speak with German colleagues all day, but it's not at that level because my mistake was the English bubble, which is very easy to get in and stay in. I'm currently still in one. And I would like to get out, but I'm also too scared. And I think girls, you should get out of this English bubble as soon as possible or have a German bubble. I know that Chelsea, one of the admins of BBA, she has a German bubble and she has friends she only speaks German to, which I think is great. I don't have that. I have German friends that I speak English to and my boyfriend that I speak English to. I know it's not going to be like in your first year, be fluent in German, maybe on your second year, but really keep working on this skill because this will open so many doors. And yes, you can get English job in Germany, but you can also get German jobs in Germany with and you require English skills that are going to pay you way more money because girls, they underpay the international people. It's well known. Just because you don't know German, they think, oh, well, then we'll cut your salary by 10K.
Yeah, and a lot of girls get stuck in that because then you're afraid that you're going to lose your visa and then you just accept these sort of negotiations from a company who's, trying to pay you less.
Because they're like, we'll take you because you know English, we don't know German.
Because you're desperate.
You're desperate. And there's probably not going to be much room for growth because those senior positions may require German as well. I was in a Danish company for 6 years and luckily the language of the company was English so I could still grow. But I know that people a lot of work in German companies that they have just the marketing girlie who does all the marketing content in English English, where else are they going to go? Probably nowhere, because everything rest of them is in German. So just keep this in mind.
And whatever country you're moving to, it's just great to integrate and to learn more about the culture and about the language, and not just be in your little bubble of internationals, although it can be a very, very nice, cozy space to have. And it's, a community that is wonderful to be a part of. You also want to make sure to expand and get to know the locals, get out of your comfort zone and practice that language.
Definitely. One other thing is getting out of your comfort zone. Getting out of your comfort zone in Germany, as we said, joining a community. That's one thing. You have to put yourself out there, meet new friends. There's also doing all the things that you loved in your home country. Like for me, it was dance, singing, theater, art. And you would think, where's the dance class? Oh, right. It's in German. And that's awkward. I'm going to be that weird English girl that makes everyone repeat everything in English because I don't understand. And that's probably going to stop me from going to that class, which it did for many, many years, until I said, hell with it. I'm just going to go and be the weird English girl who may ask for extra instruction. And now I get to go to any class I want, actually.
Yeah, we hear it all the time in the WhatsApp chat. A lot of girls who are nervous about joining a yoga class or joining Pilates.
They always say, is it in English? No, it's not, but you'll be fine.
Even if it's not in English, you can join. It's not that bad. A lot of, the moves maybe you're familiar with, or you can just look around you and follow and listen and practice that German. And if you go with somebody from your international community, then you don't feel that alone, and you can go together and have that funny, awkward maybe experience together, which can even be fun to do because then you're, bonded over that funny experience.
I actually learned German in yoga. So I started going to yoga after my breakup because I needed to, recenter and be one with the world. And I started going to the yoga classes in German. And I learned the German words for everything. Eventually, I didn't know German, but I can understand a German yoga class now. And I opened the doors for everything. And it's kind of funny for me when I go to an English yoga class, I'm like, wait, this is so weird. It's different words. And let's get to our last two do's and don'ts for Germany. And I think we both can touch base on this one, is being entrepreneurs. So I have only been an entrepreneur since 2022 in Germany, and Christy has been an entrepreneur the whole time. So maybe you want to start.
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur since 2015, actually. So I've been doing this for a long time. But when I first came here, I didn't really realize that Germany sort of prioritizes people who have a stable job here and not necessarily entrepreneurs in terms of taxes and all of those things. There's some cons to choosing this entrepreneurial life. So you have to really, really love what you do, and you have to really want to do this in order to choose to be an entrepreneur here.
With entrepreneurship in Germany, it's not easy. There is a lot of taxes. There's a lot of insurances you have to pay yourself, which is double than a corporate person would have to pay. And there's a lot of bureaucracy. As we said, do not underestimate the bureaucracy. For a very long time, I wasn't even allowed to start my own business because my permanent residency, my visa, it said not allowed to start business. And for me to change that, I had to reapply for a different visa, which allowed that. And so many people don't even know that they're not even allowed to start a business here, which can be a big blocker, which was a blocker for me when I started my TikTok journey. I couldn't actually work with any brands because I didn't have a business.
Yeah, aside from that, though, there are a lot of positive things in my experience as an entrepreneur here. So I work with a lot of US clients still. And honestly, for me and my schedule, I'm kind of more of a nighttime person. I am able to wake up calmly without an alarm. I can go get my groceries. I can go get a workout done. I can do my physical activities during the day. And then in the afternoon, I start my calls with my clients when my brain is fully there and I'm actually more capable of getting that work done. I can also get a lot of work done throughout the day and then later present it to my clients, which is also great. Even if it's a Monday, they can already have some work that they can look at and they can review already in their morning. So they can start their day and plan their day accordingly after that. And I can sort of work throughout the day and then present at the end of the day. So that schedule really works for me as a designer. And I'm sure for a lot of other girls who also have a similar experience working with North American clients.
I think as well, entrepreneurship is great, and it's provided me a lot more freedom to see my family more often because I can go home for more than just 3 weeks. In Germany, the minimum amount of holiday days you can get is 24. In best cases, you get 30 or more. And that sounds like a lot, especially from North American perspective. But actually, if you think about it, it's like 2 weeks or 3 weeks to go home, and you have not that much time left after that. So I really struggle with this. And as an entrepreneur, I'm able to go home and spend more time with a flexible schedule than I could before. So if I could have become an entrepreneur earlier in my career in Germany, I would have. But yeah, there was the visa blocker. Which leads us to our last point. Don't underestimate how hard it is to be away far, far from your family.
Yeah, even the time difference and getting on calls with family members can be a bit harder. So you have to sort of plan that into your schedule and get a habit around call times that work for everybody. Like Hannah said, making the time to travel. If you have a little more flexibility like we do, you can definitely go and spend more time with family, which is really, really nice.
But travel is expensive, and that's something I did not think about when I moved abroad, that I would probably need to invest between 1,000 to 2,500 euros every single year into flights. And for someone who normally lives in Germany, maybe they spend like 500 euros for their flights to Mallorca every single year. But yes, you're someone who lives abroad, you are probably spending 2,000 or more on flights every single year. And this is money that you can't save. And it's really, really hard because if you're making only 40K a year, that's quite a big amount.
Yeah, you have to budget for it and definitely take it into account because it's something that will be important to you and you have to make it work.
Definitely. So this was our first do's and don'ts of Germany. I'm sure we could think of lots more, but we wanted to keep these episodes short and sweet so we keep it easy for you to listen to. Our next episode is going to be why we're not leaving Germany. So people always think that I complain about Germany all the time, which I don't, but there's obviously reasons why we stay here.
This episode was a lot of talking about the struggles of when you first arrive here and what to look out for, but the next episode is going to have a little bit more of a positive light, why we love it here.
And all the benefits, because there is lots of struggles, but also many reasons to stay. And if you don't already follow us, make sure to follow us on Instagram at @BBAcommunity_. Subscribe and like this podcast, YouTube, wherever you are watching it. And to follow Christy
at Christy JAYO
on Instagram and TikTok, or me, Hannah Teslin, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, etc. So we'll see you at the next episode. And thanks for listening to
Girls Guide to Germany.
Bye!